Partners in Rural Impact is making a real difference in the lives of children and youth living in rural America, mobilizing leaders, strengthening the capacity of organizations, and activating policymakers and philanthropic partners. Our next speaker is at the head of this movement and describes herself as a hope dealer who unabashedly brings the voice of rural children and families into every room. Please join me in welcoming founder and CEO of Partners for Rural Impact, Dreama Gentry.
Hi, everybody. I got stuck back there for a second. Thank you, and thank you for staying around. Thank you for leaning into this conversation, all of these conversations around hope and action. I want to thank the NationSwell folks for having us, and I also want us to give a big round of applause to the whole team that's made this a wonderful day. So when they told me that the theme was hope and action, I was like, I can talk about that because that's the work that Partners for Rural Impact does. So I grew up in Appalachian, Kentucky. I still live in Appalachian, Kentucky. I wouldn't live anywhere else. It's not an easy place to live. It's not a perfect community, but I challenge you to find me a community that is perfect. What Appalachia is to me is home, it's community. It's place, and place matters. So I'm in Appalachia. I do the work of Partners for Rural Impact. Our job is to make sure that all rural young people have a path to upward mobility. We've heard a lot today about mobility and upward mobility. So for me, when I think of mobility, I think about the Urban Institute definition, which is really a choice-filled life. But I also think about the data from Raj Chetty. And if you look at Chetty's maps of mobility in this country, he has a map that shows the places that really honestly have no hope if you're born there for mobility. And that is that red swath of the nation. He uses red to show the distressed areas, and that includes Appalachia. It includes the South. It includes our indigenous communities. It includes rural America. So that's why we do the work. Chetty also says that the surest path to mobility is education. And I'm living proof of that piece. So I grew up, small town, wasn't even a town, it was a grocery store and a school. But there were 18 of us that graduated 8th grade. And back then we celebrated graduating 8th grade. 5 of us graduated high school, 3 of us graduated college. We were a nurse, a teacher, a lawyer. That was me. I'm reformed now. I no longer practice law. But the 3 of us were the only ones who actually had that opportunity for that post-secondary education. And it does break that cycle of generational poverty. I'm reminded of that every day when I see my young people, my 2 sons. I've got a 20 and a 25-year-old, and I see their opportunities. But I'm also reminded of it when I'm in town and I see the children of those friends and cousins that did not graduate. Their path is more dire. So I do think this mobility piece is critical for all of us. Our work is based on what we call place-based partnerships. I met Jeff Canada in 2010. When I met him, I'm like, what can I learn from this guy from Harlem, New York that runs the Harlem Children's Zone? And what I realized, I could learn a lot because what worked in Harlem works in Leslie County, Kentucky. It's a place-based approach, it's using data, it's changing systems. I had been trying for years to program our way to not having these problems with mobility and access. And programs are a part of the solution, but they're not the solution. So I'm working with Jeff, learning his model, him learning our model. I realized that we know what works. So in Leslie County, Kentucky, because you all probably know the Harlem Children's Zone model. It's a few miles down the road, does great work in urban America. Our model in Leslie County, Kentucky is the same. But Leslie County has 10,000 folks, Harlem has 200,000. Harlem is 1.4 square miles, Leslie County is 400 square miles. Harlem is a very diverse community. Leslie County is 97% white. So a lot of folks would think, and I used to think, that what worked in one won't work in the other, but I'd be wrong. Because what we've seen in Leslie County, when we started working there in 2010, it was in the bottom 10% of the state of all schools. It now is consistently in the top 15% of the state. So it works. So we know what works. We know what will create upward mobility for young people from cradle to career. We just need to invest in that. So with Partners for Rural Impact, we're prepared to scale that. We've opened partnerships in other states. We're supporting people across the country. But we can't do this work alone. And I'm really excited today because we have a new partnership. My friends from the BlackRock Foundation are in the room. They're not going to wave. I think Daniel's over here somewhere. I can't see them. They have been working on providing pathways to opportunity. And what they realize is this cradle to career place-based partnership approach is a pathway to opportunity in both urban and rural places. So we're excited that they're going to help us scale up pieces of the work. That's hope in action. And I was listening to backstage to the question that they ended with, like, what is hope? What am I holding hope for? What is the action? So the hope I'm holding, the hope that I would ask you to join me in, is I have hope for the promise of this great nation, and that this nation can be a place where all of our children and young people are supported and have a choice-filled life. It's hard, but I ask you to join me in holding that hope. On the action side, place matters. Regardless of your strategy and what you're working on, people live in places and in communities, so place matters. How can you invest and support place and those folks that are proximate to that place? Shit, I used jargon. I wasn't going to say any jargon today. I just said proximate, and I also said a bad word. Sorry about that. That's my Appalachian coming out. It was a bad word. I think the other piece of the action is think about rural America. Rural America impacts all of us. It impacts you, regardless of where you live and what you do. How can you lean in and invest in those young people in rural America? Because if we can build hope in rural America, and those people hold hope, if people like me, I shouldn't say those people, if I'm holding hope, if my neighbors are holding hope, then I do think we can reclaim the hope of this great nation. So thank you.